Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well. I look a little bit small today. Let's talk about that for a moment. Let's get, there we go. Look how much bigger I look. Welcome to the show today. I think we got all the tech working today. A little bit wonky again. I'm going to have to check in with our source here to see why we're having a little bit of problems with the tech issues, but it's better than yesterday. We're good to go. Thanks for joining us here on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. We're here Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the show. I'm with you Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Festerman's with you Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show. Jeff's show is Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm here. I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays. We do have a upcoming announcement there regarding Sirius, so stay tuned for that. Some positive news. So we'll share that with you on the show here at the appropriate time. Again, I'm Ray Flowers at FantasyGuru.com. You can find me at FG. You can find me on Twitter, X, on Instagram, on Threads, on Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. You can find me in Discord over at FantasyGuru.com. A lot going on there right now. Lots of questions. Everyone seemingly this week, it seems like it's keeper week. A lot of keeper questions coming in. So I guess a lot of people will be drafting this weekend, which is good to know. The draft book will be updated this Friday, as it is every Friday. The rankings themselves are updated on a continual basis. We had a little bit of an issue yesterday with a user, and I just want to speak to it here because we're an open book at FantasyGuru.com. Was accused of basically not updating the rankings. And the two examples given were Garrett Cole, who we talked about on the show yesterday. And as we discussed on the show yesterday, Cole had been lowered in the rankings but not removed from the rankings because there was no official report from the team. It was Jim Bowden, but until the team was officially updating that situation, I didn't want to remove Cole from the rankings. They did. Cole is going to have Tommy John surgery. His season is over, as anticipated. The other call was about Francisco Alvarez. And, someone said, well, Francisco Alvarez hurt his hamate bone. He's going to miss all this time. And, he's only been dropped 7 spots in the rankings or whatever it might be. And my thought was, I wrote a letter, and hopefully this person will understand the explanation given. If you're watching, I hope you'll stay with us at FantasyGuru.com. My explanation in the case of Alvarez was that it's a hamate bone issue. Hamate bones break, they're repaired, and that's it. They never come back. It's never an issue again. It's a little bone in your wrist that we genetically speaking, evolutionary wise, we don't need. It's in there. It cracks off. They fix it. It's done. It's never an issue ever again. There are some concerns. Sometimes guys have a little bit of a lack of hand strength at the start, but as I thought, with the case of Alvarez, he's got so much damn raw power that I think he blasts through it. So number one, it's an injury that won't linger. Number two, the estimates are 6 to 8 weeks for hamate bone injuries. Sometimes guys come back in 4 to 5, sometimes it's 7 to 8. So 6 to 8 is a very fair time frame. That means in a kind of worst case scenario, Francisco Alvarez misses the month of April. Okay. Is that good? No. But Francisco Alvarez could still hit 20 home runs playing 118 games. And when you look at the landscape of catchers, I'm still totally comfortable with Francisco Alvarez as my second catcher, as I think you should be as well. In fact, last night on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, I hosted and drafted my FSGA Champions League team. So you go back and listen on demand on SiriusXM on the app if you want to hear that 3-hour broadcast. I will be writing up the article later today, early tomorrow morning, so it'll be up tomorrow. I wasn't able, obviously, to do my diary of what I normally do is I do a draft and I write my thoughts down as I'm drafting, so you can follow my thought process. Obviously, not able to do that while hosting. As I said on the show last night, the first 22 rounds of the draft went great. Then the final hour of the broadcast, it was me and Justin, the two of us. And so there was no time for me to actually look at the board or pay any attention to the draft. The first couple hours, we had a third person, so I was able to balance it a lot better. So my reserve rounds, kind of spotty, but I'll mention that in the article. But the bottom line is in that draft, I took Francisco Alvarez, as he's ranked over at FantasyGuru.com, as a high-end catcher too. I took him as my second catcher, and I loved it. Steve Phillips, the former general manager on the show, said the same thing. So that was just an explanation there. Don't ever think that what we're doing at FantasyGuru.com, there's not a plan, there's not something set in place. Don't think we're ever slacking. We're not. You don't always have to agree with what I believe or what we believe. That's fair. We can have debates about players and values and all that kind of stuff, but don't ever think that we're not locked in to what we're doing, because we definitely are when it comes to that. Anthony says, oh, Anthony's in the room. Hey, Ray, thank you very much for the help in Discord. You're welcome, Anthony. Anthony's one of the gentlemen I was speaking of in a keeper league. Thanks for listening today to Anthony, and you're welcome. Glad to help. Good luck with the team this year and with that decision. Anthony's got some bangers. He's got Devin Williams for $1. He's got Paul Skeens for $1. Looking to do some damage in his keeper league this season. What are we talking about on the show today? Here we go. We'll throw it up on the screen for those of you watching live on Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, on YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, or on Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. All three of those places, you don't only hear the show, you can view the show as well. And as you can tell by the comment by Anthony, if you're following or watching live in any of those three places, you can leave comments that we will see and address throughout the show. So we can have interactions with you during the show. You can always watch the show there on demand, all that kind of good stuff, because it's always stored there. You can go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, get the audio version of the show every day. It's posted up there on the site. And you can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network, as you see there on the screen. Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Fantasy Sports Daily, and you can listen to us as a podcast as well. On the show, we'll talk some injuries, because it's spring training. We got to keep talking injuries. We got an update on Gunnar Henderson, and it's Gunnar Henderson, Luke Raley, TJ Friedl, Bo Bichette, Paul Goldschmidt, Christian Walker, Victor Scott, Reid Detmers, Jason Foley, Kutter, Crawford, and Kumar Rocker. We'll give an update on March Madness. The guide is available right now at fantasyguru.com. And we'll visit with our man, Armando Marsal, in about 25 minutes. We'll talk free agency. We'll talk quarterbacks with him. Tons of information on the quarterback front. Guys signing with new teams, guys getting traded. So we'll talk about the quarterback position with Armando. I think on Thursday, we'll talk wide receivers and all the movement there with Tyler Beaker. And on Friday with Russell Clay, we'll probably talk running backs and tight ends. Again, these three guys always are with me on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. All of them join about a half an hour in, which is roughly 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, let's talk some baseball. Gunnar Henderson, who we talked about recently on the show about the side issue. It's not a big deal, and no one's really concerned. He got an update that he's progressing well, but they're unclear if he plays on opening day or not. Just to reiterate a discussion that we were having yesterday with that muddled show with all the tech. Gunnar Henderson may or may not be ready for day one. The expectation is he'll be ready very soon to start the year. We saw him fall last night to the 15th pick, I think it was last night, which is the farthest I've seen him fall in any draft personally. He went to Howard Bender, a Fantasy Alarm. So there was a little bit of a discount. We talked about it on the broadcast last night as well, that, I said, look, if you want to lower Gunnar Henderson 3 or 4 spots on your board, I get it. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to get crazy and drop him the 2 rounds. I'm not doing that. Now, if I've got him as player 7-8 and he falls to player 14, there was a little bit more of a discount in the room last night. I had the 6th pick, so it wasn't an option for me. A player I like better at the 6th pick, which I'll write about tomorrow. And you can obviously you'll be able to see it's a free article over at FG when I post it. So Gunnar Henderson, may or may not be ready for opening day. His side issue, they don't think it's a long-term play at all. Depending upon your league's qualification rules, Jackson Holliday was playing some shortstop yesterday, and he's going to continue to get some time at shortstop. So if you're in one of these leagues where it's only 5 games at a position, it's possible Jackson Holliday sneaks in 5 games at shortstop to open the year. And then he's a dual position eligible player. So keep that in mind. Again, if you want to go Gunnar Henderson, his ADP is 7 or 8. You want to drop him to 10, 11, 12 because of this, okay. But I would still draft him with a high level of confidence at the moment. That's my position. Luke Raley went 1 for 3 yesterday. He had a walk, scored a run. And I just wanted to bring up Luke Raley and a couple of the players on the list today because, when you're doing these deeper leagues, I'm in 14 and 15 team leagues most of the time. I know a lot of you are in 10 or 12 team leagues, and guys, a name like Luke Raley doesn't even register for you. In my leagues, Luke Raley registers because it's like you start getting down there and we're looking, Heimer Candelario, Luke Raley's of the world start becoming pretty damn important. Luke Raley last season played enough at first base and in outfield to qualify at both spots this year if you have a 20-game eligibility rule. He had 20 home runs, stole 10 bases. I think it was 22-11 in terms of home runs and steals. And he's a nice little ball player. I wouldn't anticipate him increasing his production from last season. It may even be a little bit difficult for him to replicate the number a little bit. But the fact of the matter is that Luke Raley is going to play a significant amount, especially against right-handed pitching. He's got a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, and dual position flexible. And that makes him somebody that, in the reserve rounds is intriguing. And again, in a 10-team league, nah. In a 12-team league, no. If you're in a dynasty keeper league, you're going with the youngsters. But if you're just in a traditional, deeper 14, 15-team league, if you're in the NFBC, set up like that, Luke Raley, don't forget about him. And again, maybe he hits 18 home runs and steals 9 bases this year, but he's still dual position eligible and should be effective enough that he has some value and some legs in the game of fantasy baseball. See a comment here from Marissa. No, from Marsalis. Excuse me, Marsalis. Marsalis is asking a question. What do you think about the Mariners? This actually came up on the broadcast last night too, because last year I was very pro Mariners in terms of their pitching staff. And I'm in that same place yet again, Marsalis. Logan Gilbert is an elite level pitcher. Luis Castillo is who I drafted last night. Luis Castillo is a stabilizer, 180 innings, 180 strikeouts. Should be that guy, even if he's not quite as good as he has been in the past. Bryce Miller was top 5 in the league in WHIP last year, and I found him on all my teams. You can go check out my writings over at fantasyguru.com. He consistently ends up on my teams. Brian Wu was my breakout pitcher of the year last year and was terrific for 22 outings. The problem right now for them is George Kirby. We're still unclear about how much time he's going to miss to start the year with the shoulder issue. We're not even really certain exactly what's happening there. So we hope to get information on that very soon. And the reason that's so important is because obviously, A, Kirby is really good pitcher. He's an elite pitcher. But B, you look at this offense and it's just kind of bleh. This team is going to live or die on their home ballpark, which suppresses offense, and their pitching staff. I mean, that's it. They need Victor Robles to keep up what he did last season. I don't know about that. They need Julio Rodriguez to rebound a little bit. They need continuation from Cal Raleigh. They need Randy Arozarena to rediscover his stroke. They need Luke Raley to come through, Mitch Haniger, Jorge Polanco. Like, the lineup's not easy to pitch to. There's veterans and such down the lineup, especially in the second half, but it's just not an impressive offense. So they'll live and die by that pitching. And they'll be competitive. It's just, it's a difficult division when you've got the Astros in there who should be ahead of them. The Rangers are a banging group of players, and, the Athletics are trending up a little bit. So it's going to be difficult for the Mariners to win their division. But if they make a move, guys stay healthy, they could make the playoffs. They have a great group of pitchers if everyone can stay healthy. All right, so let's move on there to TJ Friedl. TJ Friedl went 1 for 2 yesterday. He had an RBI. He walked a couple of times. He's batting .360 here in spring. Friedl is interesting because it really depends. And this is something, folks, I'm starting to get some questions about, and it's something that's really important to consider. It's what's the batting order going to look like for a team? And in the case of Friedl, he's an intriguing player because of his skill set and also because of the potential for him to bat leadoff. There is a scenario where TJ Friedl bats leadoff and he's followed by Matt McClain and Elly De La Cruz. And, that's a place you want to be. Maybe Spencer Steer when he gets back healthy, it's like, so this lineup's in a lot of flux. We don't really know. Jake Fraley could hit toward the top of the order because he can really get on base. Do they want to go lefty-righty and match the order up? Do they have a problem going, backing up guys, righty-righty-righty, lefty-lefty-lefty? We don't know for certain. Friedl last year only played 85 games, and it was a messy season. But don't forget that in 2023, he had 18 home runs and 27 steals. Last year, even in 350 plate appearances, he still went 13-9. So very reasonable to think 15 home runs and 15 steals. He's batting leadoff, and he plays a full slate of games, 80, 90 runs. He's not somebody that's sexy or exciting, and I don't think his batting average is going to impress anybody. It'll probably be around the league average. And he really shouldn't be hitting leadoff. But, he's ahead of a healthy McClain and a healthy Elly De La Cruz. TJ Friedl is someone to not worry about or not miss on draft day if you're looking late at, hey, who should I grab in the outfield? That's a name to remember. Bichette yesterday had a second home run of the spring. And there's starting to be a little bit of momentum here, not only for a rebound from Bichette that everyone's expecting, but there's starting to be a growing momentum that Bichette could actually hit leadoff for the Blue Jays. He's hitting .350 in spring, got a .600 slugging percentage. Now, he's walked like twice, so he's hitting .350 and his on-base percentage is .370. And that's kind of the issue with Bichette. His on-base percentage is directly tied to his batting average. He's just not somebody that's going to walk a ton. It's just not his game. So is he an ideal leadoff hitter? I mean, if he's batting .285 and he's got a .318 on-base percentage, he's basically league average-ish, getting on base, maybe a little bit better. I know most people don't play an on-base percentage league, so it doesn't directly impact his fantasy outlook. Batting leadoff is fantastic for his fantasy outlook, if that is indeed what they do. I'm just suggesting that Bichette really shouldn't be hitting leadoff. It's not really his game. Though, as we've discussed previously when it comes to the Blue Jays, they don't really have an obvious leadoff guy. So as a result, Bichette is being given an opportunity here in spring. He's stepping through that door, and there's a growing possibility that he could open the season as the leadoff guy for the Toronto Blue Jays. Paul Goldschmidt yesterday, another veteran player, obviously more veteran-ish than Bo Bichette. And by the way, don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com and click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Paul Goldschmidt had a home run, he had a walk, he had a single yesterday, and, you know, he's going to be effective this season. He's not the Paul Goldschmidt of old. We all know that. We're aware of that. I'm not looking at his outlook this season, though, and thinking he's a bad corner infield option. In fact, I have taken him myself as a corner infield option in these deeper leagues. Again, those of you in shallower leagues, maybe he's a corner infield option. Maybe he's a UT option. Like, he's just not sexy or exciting. But the lineup right now for the Yankees kind of looks like Judge is going to hit second. We've heard that. And then let's guesstimate Bellinger third, Goldschmidt fourth, Chisholm fifth. Now, that may not be what they do, but that's lefty-righty, right? That really gives a problem to an opponent in terms of pitching. Chisholm is dynamic and physical and fast and could hit one or two, but he doesn't get on base, much like Bo Bichette. He's not really an on-base percentage guy. Austin Wells is kind of seeing time, batting leadoff. Bizarre-ish to have a catcher batting leadoff. Did have an 11% walk rate last year, so his on-base percentage was, above 320. I don't think that number improves. I don't love the idea of him batting leadoff. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't end up dropping him down and elevating Chisholm. So it's Chisholm, Judge, Bellinger, Goldschmidt. Bottom line is Goldschmidt is likely to hit fourth or fifth. And Yankee Stadium is a good place to hit. There will constantly be guys on base for Goldschmidt. I'm calling for 25 home runs, 8 to 10 steals. 75, 80 RBIs, 75, 80 runs. So again, a very usable piece as a corner infield option, but not somebody that we should expect at, is he 37? Expect him to return to the salad days. That's just not where he's going to end up at this point in his career. Christian Walker is an intriguing player. He is somebody that is moving to Arizona. He is somebody that we're all fans of, his offensive game. The issue for him is the health. He's got the oblique issue, which we have discussed here on the show previously. And it doesn't sound like anybody's concerned that Christian Walker had a blowout scenario, right? Where the oblique is gone, it's trash, he's going to end up on the injured list, miss all kinds of seasonal time. They still aren't saying for sure whether he's going to be ready for opening day. I don't know if they're certain if he will be ready for opening day. But he was able to take some infield practice yesterday, still not swinging the bat, so baby steps here, but he's back out on the field. There is time for him to avoid the injured list to start the season. He's a veteran player. Those kind of guys oftentimes, give me 10, 12 at-bats, I'm good to go kind of situation. There's obviously some concern if this could linger. There's some concern of rustiness because he hasn't been out there every day. But for now, Christian Walker still has the ability and potential to be active for day one for the Astros, as we have discussed previously. It might have even been yesterday on the show. I think it was this week at least. Cam Smith is killing it for the Astros. There is a scenario where Walker starts the season on the injured list for a short stay, and Cam Smith maybe makes the club. That's why you've seen him raise in terms of expectations in ADP the last couple of weeks. Still hopeful, fingers crossed, that Christian Walker will be hitting his 29 home runs with 90 RBIs for the Astros this season. So we go from a corner infielder with power to a young speedster who no one is talking about, who no one is excited about. Let's look at his ADP. This fella's ADP in the month of March over at the NFBC is 471. So he's not even being drafted. He's not even always being drafted in 30 roster spot 15 team leagues. That's 450 players. He's not really being drafted. And let me look to the draft. I damn near took him last night. Let's see if he was taken. Okay, he was taken in the 27th round of my draft last night, the FSGA draft, which again will be written up tomorrow over at fantasyguru.com. This player there's a path. to this player whose ADP is 471, leading baseball in steals this season. No, I'm not talking Mr. Reid. No. I'm talking Victor Scott of the Cardinals. Now, Michael Ciani is currently looked at as a center fielder for the Cardinals. The problem is Ciani, who is an excellent defensive player and a very moderate offensive player. The problem is he's 1 for 25 to spring. He hasn't hit at all. And there are just not many teams anymore that can have a defensive-only center fielder. That you've got to be able to do something offensively, right? And with his offensive game kind of being to start with, going 1 for 25, like there's alarm bells going off, right? Victor Scott, on the other hand, has stolen 4 bases, and he's got a .330 on base percentage here at the start. Scott has had a ton of success in the minor leagues. He was given an opportunity last season, and then it just stopped. He didn't hit with the Cardinals last year. He didn't hit very well in the minors last year. It was a really down year in terms of his development. But he still is somebody that, let's comp him to Billy Hamilton. Let's be stupid. Billy Hamilton. I think he could be a better hitter than Billy Hamilton. But he does have the ability to steal those 50-plus bases. The Cardinals right now aren't certain, according to Katie Wu, who covers the team. They're not certain what they're going to do to start the year. I mean, because again, if Victor Scott's getting on base at a .330 clip, he's going to steal 50 bases. He's going to help move the offense along. The Cardinals could use an injection of some excitement in their offense, right? It's kind of vanilla. Do you say, well, his defense is good enough? I know Ciani's a great defender, but that's kind of the question the Phillies are dealing with right now. So, for those of you drafting this weekend, if, you've don't know who to take late, we're talking about TJ Friedl. Scott's in that zone too. He's really tough to predict because Scott could get 112 plate appearances this year with the Cardinals. It could be 512. Like there's a huge, huge span there of opportunity for him. Obviously, he needs to play all the time because you're not gonna, you're not gonna play him if he's doing the Duran Blanco thing, right? Like he could steal 30 bases, but, have 197 plate appearances, right? So that doesn't do you any good. So he really needs to play on a daily basis. We shall see if that happens. It's a very interesting scenario that's playing out right now in Cardinal camp. Reid Detmers, who we talked about last night on the show, the FSGA draft. Because I basically said, look, I like Reid Detmers. I've always liked Reid Detmers. I'm a Reid Detmers mark. He's pitching really well this year. 4 scoreless innings yesterday with 4 strikeouts against the Rockies. He's dropped his ERA under 2.5 in spring. Do we dream? And again, a 14-team mixed league, you can dream on Reid Detmers. And a 10-teamer, no. 12, it all depends. It all depends. And I think it was Reid Detmers last week I talked about too. And it's like, look, Detmers, dealer's choice. Like I consider and break it all down for you, but the bottom line is everything I say, every positive, there's a negative. If he were to ever figure it out, which is why I've always been a fan, if he were to ever figure it out, he could easily be a top 50 starting pitcher. And, if you're taking him in the 29th round and he's returning 14th round value, right? That's the kind of guy that you can win a league with. Love the talent. We'll see. They haven't officially named him a starter yet, is a scenario that I should bring up too. I don't think the Angels have officially said he's in the starting rotation. So even they are hedging their bets a little bit. Love what I'm seeing in spring. I've broken this guy down so many times though. I can't tell you got to do it. I'd love to say if you were like me, roll the dice. But as an analyst, I shouldn't really be telling you to roll the dice. Yeah. Jason Foley gave up a couple of runs in an inning of work on Monday. The velocity is still down a little bit from last season. His spring has not been effective. It's just not. Now, this is not to say the lights go on, everything changes. This is not to say he doesn't lead the Tigers in saves, but Bo Brisky, Bo Brisky is someone who should be rising in importance. Again, Bo Brisky is somebody that most of you wouldn't draft because he's a deep league guy, but there is also an opportunity here for Holton, Brisky, Foley, all these guys to be involved in the 9th inning for the Tigers. But there is a path to Brisky leading this team in saves. So I'm still in Jason Foley camp, but it's really tight. And again, with Jason Foley, I'm not expecting him to approach 30 saves like last season. I'd be happy with 15 to 20 saves from him. He's being drafted accordingly, so people understand that. But that's another situation to monitor if the Tigers make a decision, because Bo Brisky, who no one's drafting in shallow leagues, if he's named closer, you know how that goes. Kutter Crawford has got an issue with his knee. We're all aware of that. He is improving. He's moving forward, but he's not doing baseball activities yet. So he's going to start the season on the injured list, Kutter Crawford. And it's, I mean, we are 3 weeks away and he's not doing baseball stuff. And he said that his knee has been bothering him since last year, which makes you wonder, were the right things done in the offseason? Let's assume they were. But the fact is, he's just not ready to go right now. It's not expected at this point in time to be a long-term issue with Kutter Crawford. Like, he's not expected to miss April or anything like that. But he is a risky draft. His value has certainly gone down in the rankings at fantasyguru.com because we just aren't certain when he's going to return to the field. Teammate Brian Bayo's got the shoulder issue. He's also expected to begin the year on the injured list. He is firmly expected at this point, though, to be back in April at some point for the Red Sox. Two guys in Bayo and Crawford that they were both expecting to throw 175 innings this season. So a little bit of uncertainty to start the year in the Red Sox rotation. Finally, Kumar Rocker. Kumar Rocker, just like Jack Leiter, we've talked about this earlier this week, I believe, too, or maybe it was last week. What day is it? It's Tuesday. We probably talked about it last week. Cody Bradford, it was last week. Cody Bradford could open the season in the rotation for the Rangers. He could be a long man. The rotation could include Jack Leiter. The rotation could include Kumar Rocker. It could include two of those three guys. It could just be, Rocker and Leiter might start the season in the bullpen. Right? Rocker and Leiter might start the season in the minor leagues. Like, there's we don't know what's going on here. But the bottom line is Kumar Rocker has struggled in camp. And the reason he struggled in camp is that there's been a mechanical issue that he's been working on. He actually threw in an inter-squad game over the weekend because the team didn't want him to face an opponent when he was kind of messed up. But all the reports are positive. He threw 3 hitless innings in that inter-squad game. They think he fixed the mechanical issue with him. I was reading some analysis of his breaking balls, and the data was suggesting that he was changing the shape of his pitches a little bit. And the question was, is this on purpose? Is there a mechanical issue going on? His slider is so dynamic. Like, what's going on with this other breaking ball? I don't know exactly the answer to that question yet. But what I do know is that there was a mechanical issue that they claim is fixed. He's back on the right path. It's seeming very unlikely that Rocker will open the season in the rotation. I would say at this point it's very unlikely Leiter will as well. It's probably going to be Cody Bradford. The question is, if everyone stays healthy, what happens when Leiter and Rocker are ready? Cody Bradford would seem to be the odd man out in that scenario, but again, that's provided the other 4 guys in the rotation with the Rangers are healthy, and we know that's not always the situation that plays itself out. Okay, so that's some baseball talk. Before we talk some football with Armando Marsal, just want to remind everybody, in case you've forgotten, we got the March Madness guide over at fantasyguru.com available right now. You can go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. You can find all of the products available, including the March Madness guide. You can always send a note to support@fantasyguru.com, support@fantasyguru.com to get the draft guide. Well, I guess the playoff guide, just call it the March Madness guide. Let's just call it that. You get access to the tournament and all the picks and plays and all of that. You get access to the Discord room. You get access to a live stream where everything's broken down. There's even, I think, a members-only contest that you can sign up for as well. So head over to fantasyguru.com, click that March Madness tab. After clicking the subscribe tab in the top right corner, click any of the tabs, and after you hit subscribe, any of them, go for it, folks. Get them all. Get the VIP Platinum, get everything we do. Head over to fantasyguru.com and do that. Angela's making a comment here, by the way, before we go to Armando. Gavin Lux should get more playing time with Noelve Marte demoted. I hope you're right, Angelo. And again, that FSGA draft that will be written up tomorrow at fantasyguru.com. I did take Gavin Lux late, so I'm hoping you're right. I think I took him in the 24th, 5th round last night. Let's see if I got it right here, actually. Ray Flowers, Gavin Lux, 24th round. So we'll see how it plays out. But I'm hopeful that he's going to have a good season there with the Reds. Infield outfield eligible in some leagues too, so that's a nice little bonus, Gavin Lux. All right, so that's the basketball talk. That is the baseball talk. Let's talk some there we go. Let's talk some football with our man Armando Marsal, who is laughing there because I think Armando saw the fact that my camera went a little wonky. We've been having some tech issues here, Armando. I don't know what's going on. People get to, every once in a while to see my green screen behind me. I'm not actually in the dugout with Jose Altuve right now, for those people that are wondering. But welcome to the show today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I was about to ask, could you get me an autograph? That'd be nice to get me a little autograph there. But good, Ray. Look, it's Tuesday. I got my fantasy baseball draft this week.
Okay.
We have NBA, obviously. We have NFL free agency. So a lot of things going on. And then March Madness right around the corner as well. I heard you talking about that. We've got our team previews already live on the site. They're going every day. You're going to see several teams submitted. So Rob Povey is doing a great job, kind of organizing that on our end. So, yeah, check it out if you haven't done so. Strongly recommend it. Our team is doing a great job with that as well, covering March Madness. So, lots of things going on. It's a busy weekend in our world, Ray.
It certainly is. Absolutely. Yeah. And Angela says, bring on the dog cards, Armando. So he's
no dog cards today. We got Fleer 1990. I want to show I'll show it at the end. I want to.
Okay.
I pulled a nice card. Very nice card.
Oh.
Unfortunately, It was in a pack that the edges are all for every single card. It was a little bit off. Okay. So it's not going to get a beautiful grade.
Okay.
But it is a fun card. I don't know if you want to share it now or
no. Let's tease. We're not doing radio, but they call it a tease in radio. So let's. Okay. So. We are gonna share a cool card, and we're gonna do a pack break too. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Okay. We got a 1990 Fleer on deck for us today.
Okay, but no dog cards today. For those people that missed that,
I hope there's no dog cards. I hope there's no dog cards in that pack. I'd be stunned if there was.
There were dog cards. I always forget the name of the pack. Do you remember the name of the pack, Armando?
Yeah, it's the Arthur. Gunther and Arthur.
Whatever that is. Yeah, dog cards. There's cards about food. There's cards about mountains. There's cards about magicians. It's a very interesting pack that Angelo's referencing, and it was something I'd never heard of before. And I was very surprised that we're pulling out dog cards and magicians and those kind of things.
It was. I still have those cards laying around somewhere.
All right, a good card. Armando Marsal at fantasyguru.com. All right, Armando, I figured we'd talk to you today. We kind of narrowed the focus down because so much has been happening in the NFL. By the way, Armando's got the NFL tracker over at fantasyguru.com, so you can follow all the signings. He's got a big sheet there, so check that out over at fantasyguru.com. Quarterback position, lots going on, and there's always some movement, but it feels like there's a lot of things that have just happened right the last couple of days. So let's talk about a trade at the quarterback position. We rarely see trades of starting quarterbacks. We'll see backup quarterbacks get moved, that kind of thing. But Geno Smith was traded to the Raiders from the Seahawks. I think that we all know who Geno Smith is, and I think the term game manager applies. He's very good at completing passes, trying to avoid turnovers, that kind of thing. Jeff Manns on the Elite Sports Show said the Raiders have no chance of winning anything with him. It's impossible. He's not going to lead the team to the Super Bowl or anything, but he can lead the team to the playoffs as he's done with Seattle. Talk to us about the acquisition of Geno Smith from a Raiders perspective, the weapons he has, all that kind of stuff. Did I accurately describe how you see Geno Smith heading into 2025?
Yeah, I view him as a game manager at best. I think he's an average quarterback in the NFL. I don't think that this all of a sudden makes the Raiders a contender, especially in the division that they're in. When you look at it and you look at the quarterbacks at the division, I still think they're well behind. I think they're last in that category. I don't think this helps the team. I don't even think it helps the supporting cast. It's not going to hurt. The Brock Bowers of the world. It's not going to hurt them. But it doesn't elevate their ceiling by any means. It doesn't do anything to increase their fantasy stock. It could be, I guess you could say, a better situation than what it was last year because it was just awful. But it's not a drastic improvement by any means. I think you're getting a game manager, a veteran, and I still think that they're going to be in the hunt for their future quarterback. I've read that they're restructuring the deal here, and they look like they can, kind of extend them. I don't know what that means. I don't know what their plans are with him, but I don't think he's the future of their franchise. And I still think that this is a team that is in need of a quarterback. And yes, do they have a Band-Aid for now? Sure. But is it a long-term, solution? I don't think so.
Armando Marsal at fantasyguru.com. So Seattle doesn't have a quarterback. Well, they have a quarterback now, but they didn't have a quarterback for a while after they moved on from Geno Smith. And you start connecting dots, and this kind of made sense. And I don't know. I think you might have even said on the show at some point you're expecting Sam Darnold to get, Baker Mayfield kind of money. I think you said that. Kind of got Baker Mayfield money. Sam Darnold, takes a great season last year and turns it into a starting gig with Seattle. He signs a 3-year, $100.5 million contract, so big dollars. He's obviously the starter for the next 3 years for this team. Interestingly enough, the Seattle Seahawks have moved on from Tyler Lockett. I guess maybe they might bring Lockett back, but they moved on, and even if they bring him back, he's a support piece. They obviously moved on from DK Metcalf, sending him to the Steelers. So Darnold's really getting paid here to throw to nobody. There's Jackson Smith and Jigba. It seems like they're going to batten down the hatches a little bit. They're going to play conservative football, Seattle. What are your thoughts with Darnold in that landing spot with Seattle?
He goes from throwing footballs to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, to you said it, Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's it. They parted ways with Lockett. They parted ways with DK Metcalf. I think from a fantasy standpoint, this is a negative impact on Darnold's status. I also view Darnold as somewhat of I don't want to say game manager, but I don't view him as a difference maker. I know he had a spectacular season, but I think a lot of that has to do with the supporting cast of coaching. I think that really goes. It's not talked about enough, what the coaching has done there in Minnesota with their quarterbacks. We saw Kirk Cousins struggle last year after leaving. I know, obviously the circumstances are a little bit different with him. And then we saw Darnold just turn in on a spectacular year, right? So I'm not surprised by this move. I don't think anyone is. I didn't think the Vikings were going to give him this kind of money. I think if they were able to keep him for cheap, they would have. I think now it's, McCarthy time there in Minnesota. I think that they're comfortable with that. And I think that's why they didn't extend him. And I also believe that when you look at Sam Darnold, you're looking at a quarterback who maybe had the best season of his career. I think that could be it. And you're going to see some type of regression here. I think he's a quarterback that needs a strong supporting cast, that needs, the right coaching. And I just don't know if Seattle is it. I view this kind of a lateral move from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold there in Seattle. I don't see this as an improvement whatsoever.
Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. The Jets obviously moved on from Aaron Rodgers. They needed a quarterback. They signed a guy that, at various times, I keep saying this, at various times, Justin Fields, he's on my Dynasty League team. Justin Fields has really impressed, and he's their new quarterback there in Jetland. A 2-year deal, $40 million, a relatively small deal, salary-wise and year-wise, like kind of a prove-it deal, if you will. I don't know if going to New York is the best thing for Justin Fields, but hey, here we go. What are your thoughts here on the signing? I mean, the good news is Justin Fields got an open path to 17 starts. And, even if he struggles, we have seen this. Even if he's not great, he's still a QB1 in fantasy, Armando.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the landing spot, if we're being 100% honest. Like, I'm a fan of Justin Fields. I don't think that, he's as bad as some people say he is out there and think he is. I think he just hasn't been dealt the right hand, unfortunately. But the landing spot is not ideal. From a fantasy standpoint, I think there's a lot of weapons here, right? You have Garrett Wilson, you have Breece Hall, you have a dynamic, quarterback, in my opinion, one who can throw and run the ball well. So I think the Jets' offense looks better than it did last year. I think this, I know Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, but let's be honest, they got him at the tail end of his career. Coming off a significant injury. I think there's going to be a new look to this Jets offense. Interesting to see what happens. I agree with you. I think the fact that he gets to start 17 games, that's a plus for Justin Fields. It's not something he had last year. Last year, he had some opportunities. He looked good at times. He didn't, statistically, he wasn't posting insane numbers, but he did look decent throughout sometimes last year. Interesting to see what happens here. Landing on the Jets is never an ideal situation. I always look and tie franchises like, I look at Jacksonville and they have talent. Sometimes you just tie these franchises and they just have a history of not producing the best results for the players and not putting players in best situations to succeed. That is a concern of mine when it comes to Justin Fields. But it's a new beginning for him. And I'm just excited for him that he's going to get an opportunity to showcase what he brings to the table. And hopefully it is successful there.
Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State. Yeah. Garrett Wilson, can he catch 100 passes? I mean, he's the alpha on this team going away, but is that possible with Justin Fields at quarterback?
I think so. I mean, when you look at the supporting cast, I think that I think that the first thing that they're going to work on is their chemistry there. It's going to take some time. It could be a frustrating start to the season. Like, that's one thing if you are drafting either, someone like Garrett Wilson, don't panic. I know this is way early, but I do want to say this because you draft him in the first 3 weeks. It's like, and then all of a sudden it gets rolling, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to take some game time for these guys. Yes, they're going to practice. They're going to get their timing right. But in game situation and in game speed is very different in practice and preseason. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but if it does happen, be patient with someone like Garrett Wilson when they have a new quarterback. And I think that goes for any player with a new quarterback or a quarterback with a new receiver.
Well, a quarterback with a new receiver with a new quarterback. We got a situation going on in Pittsburgh. They don't have a quarterback. It doesn't sound like Russell Wilson's coming back. Justin Fields just signed with the Jets. All the dots are being attached to Aaron Rodgers, which Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin seem to me oil and vinegar. Like, that doesn't oil and water. That does not seem like that's going to go well because I can't see Mike Tomlin letting that nonsense pass. But maybe Aaron Rodgers will bite his tongue a little bit, realize that if he wants to still be a starting quarterback in this league, you better just shut up and play. We'll see. He apparently is likely, I think that's the sentiment, likely to end up in Pittsburgh. Do you agree with that, Armando? And what do you think? I mean, the way the receiving core is currently constructed, I'm not going to say Pickens and Metcalf are redundant players, but they kind of are, right? They're kind of this outside deep threat kind of situation. I mean, fireworks could ensue with Aaron Rodgers with those two guys. We know that. But what are your thoughts on what goes down in Pittsburgh if Rodgers ends up there?
I don't see many paths, right, where this works out well for the Steelers if they sign Rodgers. Tomlin is a head coach that's been around for a very long time in Pittsburgh. He has a winning record, a good reputation in Pittsburgh. I think Rodgers is not going to be able to come in here and demand like he has in other places. I don't see that being the case. And then if that happens, like, what's going to be his attitude? How is that going to leak into the locker room? I think that's not talked about enough when it comes to players like Rodgers, that they create that negative energy, negative vibe in the locker room.
George Pickens doesn't need that.
Correct. And you also brought DK Metcalf, who, let me tell you, so you really want 3 problem players. I don't think it makes sense from that perspective. But when you look at the quarterbacks available, when you look at, what kind of they're thinking of doing, there's a chance that he does sign with them. I agree with you. I think Rodgers at this point of his career should look at it and say, hey, you know what? I'm just fortunate to be on the field still, playing the game and getting paid for it. And bite his tongue. I don't think it's going to happen. But if he's capable of doing that, I do think that this is a great fit for him and where he's at in his career, right? Like you mentioned, they have a good run game there in Pittsburgh. They're known for establishing the run, there. And then now they got 2 deep threats. They got Pat Freiermuth, who could be the underneath guy. They have weapons here to work with. It's a good setup, a good defense where you're not going to be, in my opinion, chasing points all that often. So it's a good fit for Aaron Rodgers. The problem is like the attitude and kind of what he's done throughout his career with coaches and players and things like that. Is it going to work out here in Pittsburgh with a coach that has been around for a very long time? Perhaps this is what he needs, right? Aaron Rodgers. And maybe it'll work out. But man, I'll tell you this. I wouldn't want to ruin what they got going in Pittsburgh by adding someone like this to the locker room.
Marsal, fantasyguru.com. Then we got the Giants. It doesn't sound like Daniel Jones is going back there. As of right now, I think Tommy DeVito's their quarterback. They gave him that $1 million contract. I think he's the quarterback, which obviously he's not going to be the starter in week 1. But it's like Russell Wilson.
That's
I mean,
what the signs are pointing to. I don't like it, but you know who I want there?
Who?
Jameis Winston. I know it's never going to happen.
Well, because I mean, you look around, like Garoppolo is signed. A lot of the backup quarterbacks have signed too. It's like you look around the landscape, and it's like Wilson to the Giants is kind of the only, unless they just want to draft somebody and let him go, or they have delusions of grandeur with Tommy DeVito. Like, I mean, bring back Drew Lock. They could do. It's kind of got to be Russell Wilson if they want to win more than 4 games, right?
Yeah, I think it's Russell Wilson. Like, I think that's what makes the most sense for them if they're trying. Because at the end of the day, you're really a veteran quarterback who Russell Wilson can manage games, right? Like, and he could be that guy for you where he's not going to be Winston that throws 5 interceptions in the game all that often. But I don't think whoever they get is going to solve that problem. That team is so many players away from being a competitive team right now. And I think that, they might be a team that drafts a quarterback, right? They might be a team that gets one of these quarterbacks and, see if they can develop him. But I think right now it's going to be a trial and error. I would love for them to get Jameis Winston. Russell Wilson is the one, though, that seems to be the favorite to land there. From a fantasy standpoint, it's not going to do anything for me. I will say this. If they get Jameis Winston, Malik Neighbors is going to become, I would say, a top 3 option at the position simply out of sheer volume. I mean, we saw it last year in Cleveland, what he's capable of doing. It's going to be like a 20 targets per game for Malik Neighbors. And that's a little bit exaggerating if whoever's listening, but
could be 13.
It's not going to be that far off.
Yeah, it really could be with James Winston, right? And then, we say this all the time. And if you're the Giants, like, draft a kid, fine. Why not bring Jameis Winston? Russell Wilson's going to, you're going to lose games 23-17. He's going to throw for 213 yards, a touchdown and a half. Jameis Winston we've seen it. We all know it. But at least the players would be excited. Malik Davers would be engaged. The fans would love the fact that the dude's flinging it all over the place, giving him a chance. Like,
Yeah.
It just seems like, if you're going to go 4-12 or 4-13, excuse me, at least be exciting getting there. I don't think there's any way they do it, but I agree.
Go down swinging, go down slinging it. Like, you know what? You score 6 touchdowns on me, I'll score 4 on you. That's fine. We're gonna have fun though.
Right.
Well,
we try to have fun here on the show. Armando, Marsal, Ray Flowers, FantasyGuru.com. This is an interesting trade. We talked about trades not really happening with Geno Smith. Well, there's another trade that happened yesterday, and this one might involve a guy who's going to start for his team in Week 1. The Eagles acquired Dorian Thompson-Robinson to back up Jalen Hurts. In theory, it makes sense. He's an athletic guy that can run. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson is horrendous. I don't even know if going to Philadelphia could make him a starting caliber quarterback, but he goes to the Eagles to back up Hurts. The Browns get Kenny Pickett. And again, you look at the Browns roster right now, Armando, and, Kenny Pickett could be starting in Week 1 for this team. It doesn't sound like they're bringing Winston back. Even if they draft somebody, are they going to let that guy go in round and in Week 1? Obviously, Deshaun Watson's not going to. Is Kenny Pickett going to be starting for this team? Is that really what we're looking at here?
It seems that way. As things stand today, it seems that way. I think you're going to see a very boring offense in Cleveland, right? A very run-heavy approach where they're not going to ask much of him. I do think that's the expectations. I think, obviously, this hurts the supporting cast in a negative way. It impacts them in a negative way. I think that the numbers you saw last year are not going to be the same numbers you see this year. So for me, it is a concern from a fantasy standpoint when we're looking at the Cleveland Browns, pass catchers. But I do think this is a sign of what to expect this upcoming year from them, right? Like, I think they're getting someone who they just want to hand off the ball, and they're going to try to run as much as possible. I think signing Myles Garrett says a lot, right? Like, they're focusing on defense, they're running the football. So yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, I'm not interested in Pickett. Right. I mean, he's probably bottom 5, bottom 10 in the NFL as far as starters right now. If he does start, so it's not an ideal situation there for the quarterbacks in Cleveland.
Armando Marsal at FantasyGuru.com. We got a very interesting situation that Angelo commented on here. How about the Rams replacing Kupp with an older Devontae Adams? The Rams are paying Devontae Adams, but $46 million, whatever it is, over 2 years. I don't know what they're paying Matthew Stafford. Have you seen an actual Matthew Stafford number? We know they've extended him, but did you actually see a number on that, Armando?
I could try to pull it up, but
I don't think I saw the actual number, but he wanted $50 million, right? So they've given $25 million roughly to Adams. They've given roughly $50 million to Stafford to return. They gave $11 million to Jimmy Garoppolo to be their backup. So they got like $80 million, $80+ million invested in these 3 guys, which is kind of weird. Not too many NFL teams have $60 million invested in the quarterback. I don't know. I don't know about that. But I guess this made sense from a quarterback perspective. They brought back Garoppolo in case anything happens with Matthew Stafford. But yeah, they're spending on some olds here. I don't really know what the Rams are doing. Everyone else is trying to spend on the youngs. Rams are spending on the olds.
Yeah, as far as I'm trying to. Appears that there's not that much.
I haven't seen an actual number. I just know that.
I'm looking now and it's not appearing. It's his old contract. So I pulled it up on the spot rack here. But it looks like the old contract is still there. I'll dig into it. If anything on Discord, get in there, guys. And if you have any questions about his contract, I'll try to find that for you guys. As far as Adams is concerned, the only, I guess, argument or case that can be made here is Adams has been relatively healthy throughout his career. Even now at this age, Kupp has shown, wear and tear. And, I think you're getting a better route runner, like just a better receiver at the end of the day. Not to take anything away from Cooper Kupp, because I do think that he's exceeded expectations in his career and has been a phenomenal receiver. But you're talking about one of the best route runners to play the game in Davante Adams. I think this is a plus for them. I really do. I think that, if he could stay healthy, he's going to make a significant impact here. And I think the Rams are showing that they still want to keep fighting. They still see that they have a chance to win, and I think with what's going on in San Francisco, I think they're seeing this. They're seeing what's going on in Seattle. They're seeing what's going on in San Francisco. So I'm sure that they knew about a lot of these things before they happened. I'm sure that, that they knew some of these moves were going to happen. So they're giving themselves a shot. Arizona, are they a real big threat? I think the Rams are in play in their division, and all you need is one seat in that playoff, and anything happens from then on. And I think they're seeing it that way. So I'm actually pretty excited to watch this team and see how this unfolds.
Sean McVay's going to retire, and that team's going 2-15. He's going to retire.
Don't say that.
What's going to happen? He's going to retire. Stafford's going to retire. Adams is going to stop playing, and Kyron Williams is going to get hurt, and they're going to go 2-15. But I guess they're worried about that in the future. Like you said, they have a chance to obviously win the division this year. So there you go. Armando Marsal, FantasyGuru.com. One of their quarterback signing, just to note, the Patriots brought in Joshua Doubs, a veteran player, a smart guy, a good teammate, all that kind of stuff. Similar-ish game to Drake May. He's athletic, and he could step in there and obviously be an effective spot starter. The question now with the Patriots is, what do they do with Joe Milton, who had that really impressive game last season? Do they keep all three of these guys or not? But still a ton of work for the Patriots to do. But Josh Dobbs, good signing there, 1-year deal kind of thing. I think I saw Armando. So that makes a lot of sense. Oh, excuse me, a 2-year deal. Makes a lot of sense to bring him in as a support piece for a young quarterback.
Absolutely. When you have a young quarterback, a second-year quarterback especially, like you want to get someone that's been around the league, a veteran to be behind him, and someone that's not expecting to start, right? I don't think Joshua Dobbs is expecting to start at this stage. Like, I think he understands his role, and having a quarterback supporting and teaching the young quarterback with the okay of being in that support role, I think it's very helpful. And I like this for them. Like you said, like if Drake May were to miss any time, Dobbs can step in. I mean, we've seen him. He's produced decent numbers. He did it in Minnesota. I think he did it in San Francisco as well. Like in recent years, he's done that. So it's okay. Like, I like this signing. It makes sense. When you have a young quarterback, it always makes sense for me to have a veteran backup. I think it's very helpful. So I do like this signing for New England. I'm very excited for Drake May this upcoming season. I think he's going to take a nice leap forward.
You almost said Minnesota. You almost said it like a Minnesota.
I know, right?
Good. Yeah, pretty good. He was pretty close. Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. Armando, we talked some football, but let's talk some baseball. Let's make it happen here.
See, look, I get ready.
Right.
I have to, I'll do the screen here, the screen thing. I'm always ready.
Armando's got a whole big thing here. He's got it. So those of you that are listening on the podcast version of this, go to youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. You can actually see the cards. That's an advantage of watching the videos. All right, Armando. So do you want to start with the pack, or do you want to start with the card you pulled first?
So I'll start with the card I pulled here.
Okay.
So look at this.
Is that a Darryl Strawberry? Who is this? I can't read.
Randy
it.
Johnson.
Randy Johnson. Oh, the
Randy Johnson rookie.
Idiot. I was going to say Darryl Strawberry on the Expos. Wow.
Yeah, it was a 1989 rookie.
Okay, but is it?
But yeah, you see this corner right here. This corner right here. My son looked at me and goes, "Dad, it wasn't me. I promise." I'm like, "No, I see the entire pack was bet, so don't worry." Because we're sticklers here about the betting and the treatment of the cards. So yeah, unfortunately, it's that little corner. You're not going to get a good grade on that. The corner is bended. Everything else looks good on the card, but that corner is bended. And then today we got right here. So we got a 1990 Fleer baseball.
By the way, Armando, how much is that Randy Johnson card? If it's graded well, did you check? Is it like
I have not been able to check. This was yesterday. I have not been able to check. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I do intend. I have it here. I have a stack of cards here that we kind of we've pulled in recent weeks that I'm kind of looking at.
How much does it cost to grade cards? I've never done it.
It's expensive. It depends. Like they have different packages. Like you could do per card. Sometimes it's better like bundle a bunch of cards. And then it's a process, right? Because before you send them to grade, you should send them to like someone that kind of like look at them, make sure that and they clean the cards and things like that.
Oh, really?
I personally haven't done that yet. But a friend of mine that's really big into collecting and trading and selling cards, he's explained to me the process. But it is pricey. It tends to get pricey. Like if you're looking at maybe like $50 or something for like
and the card's a $48 card. It's like
exactly correct. It depends. It depends. This is 1990 Fleer. By the way, I got my son. Speaking of graded cards, I got him a Ronald Acuna numbered rookie card, PSA 9. But his birthday is coming up, and that's his favorite card. So he doesn't know about that. But it's already on the way, so I'm pretty pumped about that one.
No one tell Armando's kid if you see him on the ball fields. Yeah, okay.
He can't hear me unless he has like this room bugs, which knowing my son, he might. All right, let's see what we got here. Ray. Look, we got a baseball quiz. I used to love these. I don't know if you remember these.
Okay, yeah. Baseball, I remember those.
Yeah. All right, let's give you one.
Oh, okay.
Which team joined the National League along with the Padres in 1969? This is easy, I think.
Which team joined the National League with the Padres in 1969? It should be easy. I think we just mentioned the name of the Expos.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I can't stump Rick.
Well, you can't. I'm sure you can, Armando. But yeah.
No. There's
a little rusty Staub action there with the Expos.
Yeah, and then this. Oh, look! Oh, perfect. Look at this. This was my favorite team. I don't know if I ever said this on the show, but this was my favorite team growing up as a kid. The Padres. I love punishment, I guess, because they didn't win.
Who was your favorite Padre as a kid?
Tony Gwynn and Fred McGriff were my two favorites.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Two pretty good players.
Yeah,
Hall of Fame.
Tony Gwynn. I talk about him with my kids. Like, I try to get my kids to swing like him. I'm like, guys, don't hit home runs. Just hit like Tony Gwynn. Just right up the middle. Nice and easy contact. All right, we got our first card here, right? Mike Fitzgerald.
Next card, Armando.
I don't know him.
I don't remember Mike Fitzgerald. Love the uniform though.
Kevin Seitzer.
Yeah, Kevin Seitzer was a very good player, rookie of the year, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, he was kind of a corner infield option in mixed league because he didn't have power. He was hitting 10, 15 home runs kind of thing, but a very, very good hitter. And I think he became a hitting coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Let me check that. Who's Kevin Seitzer now?
All right, Greg Harris.
He's a solid reliever from your team there.
Yeah.
Kevin
I remember him.
Is currently the hitting coach for the Seattle Mariners. So there you go.
Is he?
Yeah,
okay. All right, Dave Righetti.
Now, Dave Righetti
looks like a coach. He looks like a coach there.
Well, he's a coach now. He's a coach. He was a coach for the Giants for years as a pitching coach. He threw a perfect game. He had 40 saves one season, if I'm not mistaken. He had a really impressive career, and then I think his coaching career was about as impressive as his playing career.
Yeah, he had 46 saves in 1986.
Yeah, and I think did he throw a perfect game or was it a no-hitter? Maybe a no-hitter.
I don't. Let me see. I'm not sure.
It would probably show up there.
He had 13.
It was a no-hitter.
He had 13 complete, or is it closed games or complete games?
Complete games. July 4th, 1983, he threw a no-hitter.
Okay.
So no-hitter. And again, that's pretty rare. No-hitter as a starter, and then obviously 40-plus saves. He kind of was Dennis Eckersley too.
Yeah, that's good.
To do that. Yep.
I remember Eric Anthony.
Eric Anthony had some speed. Yeah, I don't think he ever quite lived up to expectations. That's kind of a lame card. They should have featured the jersey more, right? Like it's kind of.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card.
Yeah, just this whoever took the photo, they must have had a hard time finding one of him. That's not a very good photo. Yeah, come on.
Well, this is a better photo here.
Okay.
Brian Downing,
Mr. Muscles. He was one of the first kind of muscle guys. He always seemed top heavy with some big guns. Yeah, he was a solid 20-plus home run hitter for the Angels for about 5 or 6 years.
He looks small next to Mark McGwire, though.
Well, yeah. Everyone does next to him, right?
I think we all do, right?
Yes.
Nelson Liriano.
Yeah, glove first, more than bat. Those are pretty good-looking jerseys there, too. It's kind of like a batting practice style now, but, Blue Jays, Expos, they had some jerseys going back in the day.
Yeah, they did. And then we got these jerseys always look good in my opinion. The A's, Lance Blankenship.
Yeah, I think that is a batting practice jersey for the A's. But Lance Blankenship. He's the guy with the funky batting stance, right? Like he was sitting on the toilet.
Not sure. I would have to look, but
I have to look it up as we're talking. For some reason, I'm thinking he's the guy that looked like he was sitting on the toilet when he swang.
He didn't have much in the majors. I'm looking now. He played a lot of minor league.
Nah, I'm thinking of Phil Plantier is probably what I'm thinking of. So never mind.
Because Blankenship didn't have a I remember this guy here.
Okay.
Lenny Dykstra.
Oh yeah, Lenny. He got in a lot of trouble after the fact with the law. He was heavily featured in. What did he write in that book? Nails. I think he was in. But yeah, he had problems with car wash, drugs. There's all kinds of weird things. But I mean, he scored 146 runs one year, something like that.
He had 132 and 83.
132. Okay. Yeah, 143. He scored 143 runs in 1993.
Okay. This card only goes to 89. That's why.
Yeah. A spunky, aggressive leadoff guy. 375 per on base percentage. He got on base.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a scrappy player.
He was.
Lloyd Mosby.
Lloyd Mosby. There
I don't know
again,
who
look
that
at
is.
Lloyd Mosby's an outfielder, right, for the Blue Jays. Look at that hand position. He's really loading. Oh, look at my video's I'm all big again. But there was a period of time where you would start with your hands here, and as you stride, you would go back. Now that they teach things differently, but when I was a kid, that's how they taught you. Hold your hands here, and then as you stride, you kind of stretch.
Yeah.
So, he's obviously working. He's on his backside, floating out across his front side. He's got a good setup there, Armando.
Yeah, it's a very good setup. The knob is facing where it needs to face. Yeah, it's good there. Like Billy Hatcher.
Billy Hatcher, he was thin there. He wasn't so thin when he got older, but he was a big piece of the Astros for a while and the Reds too, when they had their success in the 90s. Billy Hatcher's a good ball player.
Yep. Wally Backman.
Wally Backman, another.
That guy looks like he played baseball.
He played baseball. He was a teammate of Lenny Dykstra with the Mets, and he became a manager. And he was also a pretty feisty guy, and I think had some. I'm trying to remember what his issues were. He had an issue. Who's in the news a couple years ago? He did something wrong too. Was it taxes?
Guys, what do they do? We got two more.
Okay.
Sid Bream.
All right. Sid Bream, very slow first baseman. He was a solid corner infield option in mixed league for a few years. He's decent enough, but he was not Mr. Athletic.
And then we got a special card here. The 90. Oh, you see, this one's bended.
We get an insert, Armando?
No, I wish.
Oh.
It's a 90 Fleer All-Star team.
Okay.
Kevin Mitchell.
I'll tell you what, Kevin Mitchell, because back in the day, you're not as old as me. Back in the day, there was no internet. You didn't you saw these guys on This Week in Baseball or the Game of the Week on Saturday. You didn't see them unless you actually went to the stadium, right? Because TV, internet, all that stuff. The first time I saw Kevin Mitchell swing, he came to the Giants in a trade from the Mets. First time I saw him swing, I was at the game. I saw him, and I said to my brother, that dude's going to be an all-star. And he went on to win the MVP. So I felt pretty good as like a 14-year-old kid. I was able to watch him take a hack and be like, we got something going on here. And having never seen him because he played in New York and I'm out here in California, such a different world. I wonder if I tell that story, Armando, people like, what are you talking about? Like the idea that you haven't seen guys on YouTube or on all the services. Like I never saw Kevin Mitchell play before he came to the Giants.
Yeah, it's technology, right? Like that's the reality of it. Like it's incredible the information that we have at hand. It's just when you really truly think about it, back in the day you did it. I mean, you couldn't when you had to call someone, you couldn't stop. You had to stop, pay phone, or stop going to a store. Like it wasn't like you're in your car and you make a phone call.
Yeah.
Technology has advanced, and with statistics, with film, with everything,
Mm-hmm.
like you could pretty much pull film on any player right now. Could even high school, like you could. I'm sure if you really dig into it, I'm sure you could find film on high school players. So yeah, it's incredible the technology and how things have changed between when we were growing up and today.
Steve Phillips, the former general manager of the Mets, we were on a broadcast on Sirius last night working together, and he commented off air that he was covering high school kids in all-star games last weekend.
Wow.
Like, I mean, it's like you said, it's a totally different world. And I also think back when I was a kid, if you're following your homies on a Friday night, rolling to a party, and your buddy decided to run a red light and you didn't know where you were going, you're not finding the party.
Yeah.
If they run that red light and they just keep driving, if they don't pull over to the side of the road, you didn't have a phone, you didn't know way to contact, you didn't have GPS to find out where the house was, even if you had the address. So I'm old. Life was so much harder.
Like when we were growing up and you would go out, like outside, there was no phone. Like, hey, where are you at? No, it's like I would ride around my bike and then I'd see where everyone's bike was, and like, all right, everyone's here. Like that's what. Or I would knock on my friend's windows, like, hey, where's everyone at? Oh, I don't know. Well, then we go together and we start looking around. Like that's really what it was. Like there was no way of finding out. So yeah, times have changed.
Armando, Marsal, Ray Flowers, the two old guys. Armando's like 18 years younger than me. How old are you, Armando? Do you mind saying?
I will be 42 this year, sir.
Yeah, you're a decade.
I'll be 42 this year.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, man. I coincidentally I told my wife's cousin, I speak to him regularly. Him and I are really good friends, and I told him, like, dude, I am feeling old. Like, I felt old this morning. I was like, I'm getting there, man. Like, I coached a baseball last night. It was 8 p.m. game, which is late for these kids. So by the time we got home, it's kind of late. I woke up today. I'm like, man, I'm old. And all I did was coach a baseball game last night. So, yeah, I'm feeling it, Ray. I'm feeling the 40s.
Dude, I'm just in my 50s. I hurt my shoulder. I've told the story here. I've got a couple of tears in my rotator cuff, my left arm. And I'm okay. I'm doing therapy and stuff, and I'm okay. I helped my lady move some planters in the yard, just, pots filled with dirt. And last night, my shoulder was killing me. Like, I had to take a leave, and I don't ever take pills. Like, I was like, I can't. Carrying pots, dude. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, if you're young, enjoy it, folks. Because when you get older,
yeah, it's
just normal stuff. Yeah, just normal stuff.
Things start hurting.
Oh, man, geez. Give me a whiskey. Armando Marsal, we've got it on the screen there. We got the March Madness Guide available right now at fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. You are involved with that, right? So talk to the listeners a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I'm not doing any content for March Madness, but everything's on the site. There's a guide up. It's very similar. There's a landing page with, it's going to have all the team previews. There's going to be live streams. There's going to be brackets. I believe that the team is going to have like some type of contest or challenge or something like that with brackets. So keep an eye out for that. So lots of information. They're going to be in Discord. There's going to be bets. So lots of things out there for NCAA March Madness. It's always a good time. It's always fun to watch. I don't follow college basketball much, but I do during that time. I do kind of watch those games. They're intense, and I like those kind of back and forth games. So there's plenty of that. Plenty of NBA there. I'm on today with Fancy. Both of us are covering NBA. I'll also be the roster coach live stream is back on tonight. There was a couple of weeks off, but we're back on tonight. Tyler Beaker, Russell Clay, and myself will be on today. We'll be talking about obviously free agency and all the things going around the league. Mind the Marsal podcast, NBA coverage, free agency tracker, all of that over at fantasyguru.com. Check that out.
The Mind the Marsal podcast one comes out Fridays?
Yeah, it's usually comes out Fridays. It depends. I've been working a lot around guests and stuff like that now with the season off. But yeah, usually later in the week. Next week it will be early. I have a guest lined up for Tuesday, so next week it will be early. This week it'll be later in the week.
And the live stream on Tuesday nights is at 7 o'clock Eastern.
7 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, that'll be on. We're back. We're rolling back today, so it'll be Russell Clay, Tyler Beaker, and myself this evening.
That's Armando Marsal at fantasyguru.com. Armando will be back on tomorrow with Justin Fensterman on this show, Talking Hoops. Thursday, Tyler Beaker will join me to talk football. Friday, Russell Clay will be with me to talk football. So if you don't get a chance to watch a live stream, you won't get everything here on the show here because it's free and they're dedicated there, but you'll probably get a little bit of the carryover. And if you like what you see here, again, sign up at fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, all that stuff we got over there. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Thanks for your time to Armando today. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you. You and I will talk in a week from now. You'll again be back with Justin tomorrow at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So have a great day, and thank you so much.
Yep. Have a great day, Ray. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on.
He's Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. The show will be back 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow with Justin Fensterman and Armando Marsal. For Armando, I'm Ray. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.